Okay, welcome back. We're almost through this introductory series. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to be pushing and pulling stuff from our RStudio project back and forth to and from the GitHub website. And so what we're going to do first is just create a new R Markdown file. So just so we have something that we could kind of push and pull. It doesn't really matter what it is really. So I'm just going to call it intro to GitHub. And again, it really doesn't matter what's in there. So I'm just going to load in tidyverse. And maybe I'll make a histogram of mileage from this built-in MT cars dataset. Yeah, I'm saying it doesn't matter, and then I'm doing all the options for the histogram, but whatever. So, okay, so it doesn't really matter what's in there. What you need to do, though, is save that file as something. So I'm going to call it intro to GitHub push. And save it in the folder with your current R project. So I'm going to save it. It's there. What you should see happen is you should see it appear in the top right window. And so this top right window is showing a list of files that are on your desktop computer, but they are not updated on your GitHub site. And so what we're going to do is check those three files, click this commit button, and write a commit message. And so this commit message should be somewhat descriptive about what you just did. So I'm going to say created a histogram of MPG. So we didn't really do that much, so there's not really that much you can say. You'll type that message and you'll click this button that says commit. You should get a message that 3 files have been changed, 31 lines have been inserted. It created a git ignore file, which we didn't actually do. It created an R project file, and it created this .rmd file that we just made. What that commit does is it creates a copy of this project exactly how it is right now. And so Git is called version control software. And so what version control really means is that it's saving this current version of your project. So if you ever wanted to go back to this version, you can. It doesn't seem like a big deal now, but imagine you're doing a very large-scale project and you accidentally write something that breaks some of the code that you wrote. You might not realize exactly what you did to make it break, but you want to go back to a version that works. And so this really allows you to do that because you could go back to any version that you clicked that commit button for. So again, big picture right now, commit makes a copy of the current state of the project. So typically you'll do a commit, and after you do that commit, it saves this current version of this project so that you could always go back to it whenever you want. But you'll want to also push it to your GitHub website. And so to push something, you'll click this little arrow that looks like it's pushing something away. And so I'll do that now. It'll let you know that it pushed to this particular web address. So I'm going to click close. And then after you push, if you refresh the page, you'll get the files to appear on your account. And so now that those files appeared, your GitHub account is public, or at least the way I did it is public. Anyone can look at this now. And so your files are all there. It lets you know that you pushed them 2 minutes ago. It lets you know kind of how many commits that you have. And it's a way to kind of get your materials on this site so that it's easier to collaborate with other people. Okay. So again, this is like kind of the most important part, that what you'll be doing as your workflow most of the time is you'll be changing stuff on your project. So maybe now you want to, I don't know, add a geom. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. Geom. My mind's blanking. The one that like makes the little smooth over the histogram. It's not geom density, but maybe you want to, I'll do something easier. Add an x-axis label. After you save that file, you'll see that it changes here. And you could click the checkbox, commit, added x-axis label. It's kind of silly because you wouldn't really commit for something that simple, I guess. So usually you'll be working longer than just like literally a second. But if you commit, you'll see the file changed, 2 insertions, 1 deletion. And then this push button is also up here. So as soon as you commit, you could also push. On the GitHub site, if you refresh, you'll see that you just committed 19 seconds ago. This time you only changed this file, so it's the only one that got the updated time. And if you click on the file, you'll see the updated version. Okay. A couple of other things that we'll talk about here is that you can do this the other way around. And so you could be working on your GitHub site, though this is going to be much less common. But let's say you update your README site or your README file. So I'm going to update mine and say this is a file for data, or this is a repo for data visualization, data 4001/stat4005 at SLU. So just edited that README file. You'll commit the changes. So just going to say update README. So that's my kind of commit message. You'll see that updated. And then if you go back to your project, you'll see this new update. So you've changed something on your GitHub site. And if you want that to now appear in your RStudio, so see how this has not updated, instead of pushing, you'll click this arrow that looks like it's pointing towards you, and that's called a pull. So this is pulling from your GitHub site to your RStudio project. So if you click pull, it'll tell you that it's updating. It'll tell you what it's updating, so the README file, and you'll see the README file update. So it's a way to kind of work back and forth, but most of the time you'll be working from RStudio and then pushing. I will mention that you'll be pulling a lot too, but usually you will be pulling comments that I make on your project that I push to your repository. We'll talk about that more later, but in the back of your mind, you could be thinking that this is going to be a way that will allow me to push a file to your GitHub repository that you can then pull. And maybe that file has comments, maybe it has code suggestions, but it'll be an alternative way to like emailing for you to be able to get comments, or an alternative way to, instead of using like the Sakai assignments, which are awful, as a way to get comments on your work. We'll talk about that more later though. So for now, if you're just thinking about on your own, if you can push, pull, and commit, and you understand what each of those three things mean, you are good to go. The final feature that we'll talk about in this video that's potentially useful is this Diff button. So if you click this Diff button, this is potentially useful if you click History in the top left. This will show you how your project has evolved over your various commits. And so again, we have hardly done anything, so it doesn't really seem that useful, but imagine for a larger scale project how nice this would be. Because you could view all of the different versions that you have and go back to one that where your code is working, or before you made some sort of error in your code. So I'm just kind of clicking through mine. It shows you what changes each time. So created a histogram. That was the commit where we made the gitignore file, we made the R project file, and we set up this new .rmd. X-axis label, that changed this line so that there was a plus at the end and added the labs. Updated README, that was the commit where we added a sentence to the README file. Okay, so nice work so far. I feel like it's an appropriate time to use this praise package, which I'm going to install real quickly. Library, praise, praise. You are divine. So great work so far. I know it can be challenging to get into Git and GitHub, but I promise, well, I can't really promise, but I really think it will be worth it. So we're going to stick with it through the semester, see how it goes.